Good day, everybody. Welcome to today's video. Today's video, while doing the water pump in my 2014 JK, I already got a bunch of this already out, but we're going to review the steps that you need to do in order to get the water pump out. You don't need to remove the radiator. I want to make a note of that right now. I'm actually replacing the radiator. But I'm going to go through the early steps on what you have to do, and then we're going to come back with this.
This is going to be a time-consuming project. The first thing you want to do is remove the air box by the two bolts that hold it in. There's also an electrical connection, which is your air intake temperature sensor. You want to remove that. There's also a crankcase breather on the air box, and then, of course, the clamp that attaches to your throttle body. Once that's done, remove the air box. And then you need to get at the tensioner to remove the belt. So just kind of release the tension slowly so you don't damage the tensioner. And then once you have enough, pull it off the pulley. So now before you can remove the alternator, I disconnected the negative battery terminal just to make sure I don't have a spark show, and then disconnect that 2-wire electrical connection and then your 12-volt battery cable from on top of the alternator. And then the alternator is held in place by 6 bolts. They all use 13 mil, 15 mil, and a 16 mil socket. And then remove them all, then you'll be able to extract the alternator. Now, if you notice in the video, the belt is kind of all over the place. I'm actually replacing the serpentine belt, but in order to do the water pump, you just don't need to remove it, but it probably would make it easier for sure. It's a good opportunity while you have it apart to inspect it and replace it if needed. Now, these alternator bolts are extremely long, as you can see. And once you got those two out, then you can pull the alternator out of the way, and we'll give you the room you need. I don't believe you need to remove both pulleys, but in my case, the bearings were getting dry, so I removed them and greased them up. So that's why in this video clip it shows me removing both pulleys. This part you can do whenever, but you want to make sure your radiator fluid's cold because you will need to drain all your radiator fluid. In order to do that, you need to remove the front grille by removing the 6 little plastic push-pull tabs, and then grab the grill at the bottom, pull it out, and then as you can see right there, I got a hose connected to the radiator drain. And the reason why you removed the grill is to get your hand in there to open up the drain, to drain the coolant out into some sort of container.
So this is going to make a mess no matter how you look at it. So I got a little tray down there. I'm going to pull those heater hose off and the lower rad hose. Short pick. There we go. And I think I got enough. Pull it off. Presto. All right. See what we can do about this bottom one. This bottom one is definitely going to be stuck. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Now this bottom one would be easier to get from underneath, but short bolt. Short bolt. That's a little bit longer. You gotta remember, all these bolts seem to be a different length. So I'm separating them out. And it looks like we're getting there. A couple more. Short. This might be the last one. It should come out now. Looks like we got a couple places to pry right there. I'm not seeing any other bolts are holding in place. Actually, this came off really easy. We want to pay close attention to the gasket, the way it's set up. So we got the new water pump. You want to make sure the gasket sticks out, because if you look at the engine housing, you can see the indentation sticking out, and that's how you want it to be. Take the sore excuse for a can of brake cleaner. Clean the gasket surfaces off. Some brake cleaner. All right, I want to carefully try to line this up and get it in.
I like to put all the bolts in loosely first by hand. This way you're not cross-threading them, because that's the last thing you want to do. Once the water pump's in place, it's time to put your idler pulleys back in. Make sure you put them in the correct hole, because when you go to put the alternator bracket in, you might be surprised.
Water pump's back on, tightened down, idler pulleys back in, fully greased. Time to feed the belt back in, put the alternator in place.
There's a quick shot how the belt routing goes, in case you're curious how it loops around. Now, I grabbed the whole alternator and all the brackets, and I put the belt over top of the pulley. And now I'm just putting the serpentine belt back on. Fill her up full of coolant. And you're good to go.
All right, so we got the water pump back in, belt put back on. It is kind of a big job. It is way easier to do, of course, with the radiator out, but it is doable with the radiator in, just a little bit more tighter. But since the radiator was leaking, I decided, since I'm taking it apart, might as well redo the whole cooling system. Everything will be brand new. Gonna do the thermostat now, and then we're good to go. So if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I sure hope this video helped you guys out to understand how it's done.